X, 21M, is angry that I hooked up with someone 3 months after he dumped me, 21F. TL, doctor, in a relationship for almost 2 years, got dumped by BF the same day a family member dies, and he says he liked someone while we were still together. 3 months after he dumps me, I hook up with someone he's insecure over, and he loses it saying I should have said something to him and how could I go to the one person we had issues over. Over a year later, I get shit for what I have done despite how he handled the entire situation in the first place. What do I even do? I was in a relationship for almost 2 years during college, 21 months to be exact, and had made future plans on doing so many things together, and spoke about marriage and children. I got dumped last summer the same day I found out my grandfather passed away, an absolute shock on both ends, because he wanted to focus on himself, and distance was going to be difficult. He decided to go to a different continent for an internship and we wouldn't see each other for 6 months, plus I would graduate a year earlier than he was. Another reason for him taking this internship was because he messed up his semester by taking too many classes and getting high every day. I still loved him and was willing to forgive him if he asked to be together again when he came back. A month later, he messages me and tells me that another reason he broke up with me was because he caught feelings for some girl while we were together, that he met once at some street fair. I was completely floored by this because this girl and him were just acquaintances, and they never spoke to each other, and then all of a sudden he decides to dump me because he thinks she could be the one. In the coming few weeks, he would tell me about how much he liked this girl, and how he wanted to take her places, and hoped she liked him back too, and he had a feeling that she did. Fast forward to 3 months later where I'm in my last year of classes, and I hooked up with a guy that we both knew. This guy was someone he had issues with and was insecure over, as I had liked this guy before. Full disclosure, I lost all feelings for him completely after a few months, and did not have any romantic inclinations once my ex and I got together. X found out about it before I had the chance to speak to him about it, and went ballistic, saying that I should have had the courtesy to tell him about it, and how could I have fucked the one guy he had issues with. Of course, looking back, it has been a year since this incident. I do agree that it was a mistake and I wish I never did it, but we were both drunk then and both were single. I wish I did say something to my ex sooner and just given him a heads up, but I did not, and I accept that. X removed me from all social media accounts and we don't speak from September to February. X then comes back from his internship, and I hear he hasn't pursued the girl that he dumped me for, and on my birthday, someone brings his name up and I start full on crying because I realize I still miss him and love him. He hears, and decides to meet me, and start an on-off relationship. Feelings for that girl somewhat diminished but still has a small thing. Then he decides that there's another girl who he has been talking to and is a friend of his, who he hasn't met in almost 10 years, that he thinks might also be someone he could like. Needless to say, he and I would be fighting every other week, because I still loved him and was willing to give him a chance after all that had happened, and I thought he loved me too, but he would still bring up how I hooked up with the other guy and guilted me into that being the state we were in. We decided to end our relationship in the summer. This past summer, we were driving to go somewhere, and this was my first time driving on a highway for a long period, and I almost successfully made it to my destination. We get into a small fender bender, but thankfully all parties were okay. A month after that accident, which my family doesn't know happened, and I have not driven since, because every time I think I'm ready, I start feeling very panicky, he messages me saying I should have been more careful while driving, even though the cop told both him and me that it was the other person's fault and I had done the right thing by braking on time at the light. Still, I carried a lot of guilt from that accident, and to hear someone say that maybe I would have realized how much someone was worth after they died got to me, and he decides to remove me from all social media accounts again and cuts off contact. I started drinking heavily every weekend and wasn't sure how to handle all the guilt that came from the accident, as he is the last person I would want to get hurt in an accident, and I lost even more confidence in my driving, and how we had ended. I considered therapy, and still am, to cope over all this. Fast forward to a few weeks ago when I get a message from him where he asks how I'm doing, and makes small talk. He apologizes for the comment he made about the accident and said that it was not my fault, and he shouldn't have handled it the way he did, as this could have been our chance to strengthen our bond, but he chose otherwise. He joined therapy for some of his issues too, which I was happy about, because he has someone to speak to and help him. We spoke here and there some more, him messaging almost always except one time where I wished him for a holiday. He would say things like how he missed me and it felt so different for him to be in his last year of school while I wasn't there. I miss him too, but I wasn't sure what I could do because we weren't living in the same area anymore, And he was applying for jobs all over the country. He also just fought with me so much and I just didn't think it made sense to feed into something that could end up hurting both of us again. 2 days ago, he messages me and said some of the most nastiest things I've heard in my life. Said I was a hoe and a slut for screwing some guy that got in the way of our relationship, even after I hooked up with said person after we broke up, and wished I would die. He said I was a terrible person and had no idea how relationships worked, and he was the one guy who was everything for me, and I couldn't find anyone better. I didn't respond to him because I was on vacation, but he messaged me again the next day asking why I hadn't responded, and how I wasn't brave enough to say anything or face my issues. Not true, as I am a pretty outspoken person and did not want to say something or else he would twist my words and continue arguing some more. I am trying to be more mature, but he doesn't seem to like that. I have always told him that I regretted what I did, and have apologized numerous times, and am not sure what I can say at this point. I forgave him for how he broke up with me while I was grieving over a death and when he liked the girls, which took a long time. This time, however, I just said that I said whatever that needed to be said before, and wished him well for his future. He blocked my number, so I don't think he got my message, and has blocked me on Facebook as well. His brother removed me from social media too. Is all of this my fault? I have numerous friends who have told me that he is acting immature over all that he has done to me, but I still feel guilty that I didn't say anything when I hooked up with the guy, and I already know that I should have, and wished I never did it in the first place. And here's are the comments from this post. From a Rick Zero. Is all of this my fault? In the sense that you continue to engage with this garbage man, yes. How about you block him on everything and don't wait for him to decide it's time for the annual 2-minute hate? This guy sucks and he wants to hurt you. From Olivia Prestane. None of this is your fault, you don't owe him anything. Stop talking to this asshole. What he says and thinks isn't important. And lastly, from Winter Nikki. Don't try to be friends with your ex, please. It rarely works and usually only leads to heartache. You are not required to listen to his tirades, you are not required to keep him updated on your life. This is a man that has dumped you and said horrible, undeserved things to you. He said he wanted you dead because you had sex with someone else after you two broke up. Isn't that enough to realize that he's not all there in the head? If you were going to change and treat you better, he would have by now. I would cut your losses and make sure he's blocked on everything on your end. There's no point in being subjected to harassment like that. Also, you were and are never obligated to apologize or forgive him for breaking up with you twice because he was chasing a fantasy relationship, trying to control you as a person even after you two broke up, saying he wishes you were dead. This man is crazy, blaming you for an accident that wasn't your fault and he knows that, using your fears and emotional uncertainty to harm you, breaking up when grandpa died, saying you don't appreciate life because of the accident. This man is using you as a fallback when his dream girl relationships don't work out because he expects and has taught you to be there for him whenever he wants you to. You deserve better than that. Don't trap yourself with him. If he ever approaches you again, just say I don't have time for your inability to be an adult and leave the conversation. You don't owe him anything. Update. Thank you to everyone who responded to my thread. It really meant a lot that you guys agreed that there wasn't something that was wrong on my end. I met a couple of friends this past weekend from college and found out that my ex has been going around telling people about the nasty things he texted me. He apparently wrote a rap song too about me. Should I feel honored or laugh at the time he wasted? I was really angry to begin with because I was still obviously hurt, but then I realized that this definitely would not have worked in the long term, and I'm glad he showed his true colors, even if it was almost 2 years into the relationship. I'm also going to start therapy soon just to deal with how much emotional baggage he unloaded on me, as well as coping with my accident. Once again, thank you everyone for your support. TL, Dr. X has been going around saying more things and now I know I've made the right decision staying away. And here's are the top 3 comments from our Reddit peps. First from Twarnich. Girl, I ran into the ex-fiancé 20 plus years after we broke up. Each of us were married 20 years, he had kids, FFS. He still had nothing kind to say to an adulteress. AKA I found someone to date after a full 6 months of refusing to see him or say anything to him. Crazy people be crazy. And next is from a deleted comment. I can't believe your ex tried to guilt you for not telling him that you had sex with someone else. Does he think you need to keep him apprised of every intimate detail of your life still? It's none of his goddamn business what you do, or who you do it with. He's been nothing but an immature manipulative asshole. Glad you are finally over it, painful as it is to get there. Ninja edit because poor wording could have been misinterpreted. And this one is from Hip Hop Frog. He apparently wrote a rap song too about me. Oh my lord, this is the best thing I've seen today. Can you get your hands on it? Therapy sounds smart and healthy, good for you. Smashing it. This next comment is from Chna. I had an ex write a song about me. It's on Spotify and I think it's probably one of the funniest things that's happened to me. I definitely laugh it off. But anyway, I'm glad you're doing good for yourself. And lastly from onevu_s. He must be a cringy person if he made a rap song about you. Yikes. And that's all for today guys. See you on the next one.